Good morning, everyone. This is a quick video on guiding you how to fill your research ethics application form. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you, all of you, for being able to submit your research project proposal. And now the next stage is that based on your proposal, you need to submit a research ethics form informing the university that your research is adhering and following ethical guidelines and ethical practices. So let me just share my screen. When you go to your VLE for research methods and ethics, under week 10, where it says research ethics form and guidelines, there are a set of instructions that you need to be following. Firstly, you should have all received an email with a link to your ethics application form from ethics application form from VLE forms. So the email address should say VLE forms, and the email should be something like this: Dear student, this is as part of your research methods and ethics, you have been assigned a following supervisor, for example, and this is a link to filling your research ethics application form. Now, if you haven't received an email for any reason, please contact me. Send me an email. My email address is, let me just show you guys, ardawan.amini@london.aru.ac.uk. But you should have all received an email, and the email heading would have been VLE forms. Now, this email would go directly to your university email, not your personal email. So if you've got a problem accessing your university email, you should go to icenter@london.aru.ac.uk. I repeat, icenter@london.aru.ac.uk to ask them to fix or sort out your email address so you can look at your university email. Once you received it, you must click on the link, and it will take you to a folder within the share drive. And in there, you have 3 documents. You have the postgraduate master student handbook. This is just basically basic information for you guys about your dissertation and your studies with that at postgraduate level. And then you have in there the research ethics application form. This is the document you need to be clicking on. Open that document. It will be a Word document that will open. Once the document is opened, you will need to fill that document in by putting your first name, your surname, your university email address, your student ID, your program title, whether you're studying MSc, MBA International Management, or the project management, or the marketing, or health or social care. You put that, program in there. The program in there is not research methods or ethics. It's the actual title of your master program. Who your supervisor is. Now you can get that supervisor from here. So in this case, this particular student's supervisor is Robert. So that would be their name that would go into the form. Then this section is quite important. This is where you start telling us what are you researching and what type of research methodology and research strategy have you adapted. So when it comes to the title of your research project, you put, and you parallel to this, you open down your research project proposal. So in your research project proposal, you've already indicated the title of your research, for example, investigating the impact of AI in the finance sector, or looking at obesity or health and social care. implication in NHS, and so on and so forth. So you include the title for your project in here. You're not working with any affiliated institutes. So therefore, this is none. The date of the application is the date that you fill it in. So for example, today is the 3rd of December or 2nd of December or 1st of December. If you're filling it then, that's the date that you put in here. The start date for your proposed research for your overview could be January 2023. Depends. Check again with your learning center to make sure if you're a part-time student or Department of DOS, Department of Studies. The email address is dos@london.aru.ac.uk. If you're studying part-time, it could be that the date of the application is January. However, your actual dissertation starts in May. That's not really important. So for now, if you want to put January 2023, that's fine. Now, when it comes to here, you all have done an introduction section talking about what is it that you want to do for your research. So what I advise you to do is just to fill down the aim of, as part of this research, I will be investigating this, or I will be doing this research. So a paragraph in here, it doesn't need to be 700 words because we're asking further details down here. When it goes to research background, you are to provide a bit of a background. This is from the research problem that you have already identified and is part of the literature review that you already identified. What is your research question? What is your research aim? Your objectives, i.e. things that you're going to be doing, which was outlined also as part of your research project proposal to achieve your aim. In terms of type of data that you are collecting, are you collecting qualitative data, i.e. opinions and viewpoints of scholars, industry experts, or are you collecting quantitative data, i.e. stats and numbers to as part of your research? Where is that data coming from? If you're doing secondary research, that would be through literature review, or if you're doing primary research, that would be through interviews, workshops, that data source will come from. What type of data methods are you using to collect that data? i.e. if you're doing secondary research, you're searching various database search engines, such as Google Scholar, the Digital Library, the Frame database, Science Direct, to be able to collect the appropriate journals and conference papers, or look at various websites. Or if you're doing primary, are you doing interviews and workshops, or doing sort of observation or surveys to be able to collect that data? How are you going to be analyzing that data? Are you using some sort of a statistical approach to analyze that data? Are you using any type of models or theories to be able to analyze that data? How are you going to be analyzing that data? You will mention it over here. And then finally, you may not do this, but if you're not doing this, you may say you will not be doing any dissemination, but finally would be write it down and how you would disseminate the outcome of your research, i.e. basically, are you planning to produce a report to the company, if you're doing this for a specific company, to the community? Are you planning to publish this somewhere in LinkedIn or other places? Then please mention. And then the final stage is, what impact does your research brings to that society, to that industry, to that particular sector? What is the impact? So what's the point of doing this research? What value are you adding by doing this research? And it only needs to be a paragraph or two. Now, all of these boxes in here can be a copy and paste straight from your research project proposal as you see appropriate, because, for example, you've already stated in your research project proposal whether you will be doing secondary research or primary research. You already stated whether you're going to be using qualitative or quantitative methods to collect your collect that type of data. So you could mention all of that in here, and it's not a problem. You can copy and paste from your research project proposal. When it comes to here, this is the most important part. For those of you who are doing secondary research, all of these answers is no, 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 no. So you just need to put an X across all of this, right? But if you are doing primary research, then the first question is definitely yes, because you are involving some sort of a human participation if you're doing questionnaire. But if you're doing interviews, then the second question would be yes. Are you going to be using any company-related data which is not available publicly? If you are, for example, if you are working with a specific limited company or your current workplace, and you've told them you're going to do research within their organization, and the managing director or your supervisors have agreed for you to do the research, then the answer in here is yes if you're accessing their data. And therefore, you need to be filling in what we call a gatekeeper form if 303 is yes. And I will talk about those in a second. But if 301 and 302 is yes, that means you have to fill in what we call a participation consent form and the participation information sheet. Does it create any risk by doing this research to anybody in the society? The answer should be no. Hopefully you're not damaging or creating any risk to any individual or any organization. Does it involve participant whose response could be influenced by your relationship with them, i.e. you're doing a research based on your family company or your dad's company or your cousin's company? If the answer is yes, put that in here. If the company is involved, a specific company, if you're doing it at sector level, if you're doing it generally at UK level, that's fine. But if you're doing it specifically for a particular company, then this also needs to be yes, because you are going to be cooperating with them and you do need to fill in the gatekeeper form. Are you receiving any, are you offering any financial incentive to the people who are participating as part of your research? The answer is no. And are you involve the possibility of any incident health issues related to participants? The answer should be no as well in here. Involve the discussion of topics that participants may find distressful? The answer should be no, because you don't want to be creating any distress or any harm to anybody. Majority of the answer should be no, and also these red ones and the purple ones should be no as well. When it comes down here, if you're only doing primary research and you've indicated in any of these boxes at the top, 301, 302, 303, 4, and 5, yes, then you come down here and explain what are you planning to do. For example, if you're doing an interview, you will say, I will be conducting an interview, and as part of that, I will also be collecting a participation consent form and filling a participation information sheet. If you're working with a company and you need access to their data, which is not publicly available, you will mention that you're going to be working with company XYZ, and they are going to be filling what we call a gatekeeper form, which is going to be signed and authorized by them that you're allowed to access that data. And therefore, when it comes to tick boxes over here, you will say which type of form you will be using additionally to collect the data. As I said, this is all for the people who are doing primary research. For people who are doing secondary research, you don't need to file any of these sections because your answer to the above questions were all no. And finally, in here, I have completed the relevant training in research ethics. The answer is yes. All of you should have done your research ethics certification and done the quiz and passed it. You, as part of that, therefore, you have consulted with the research ethics policy and relevant research code of practice at university. You don't need to complete a risk assessment, hopefully. And the answer should be NA, not applicable. And in the case of only you collecting data directly from the company, i.e., they're giving you data which is publicly is not available, this answer should be yes, and you should say that, yeah, it follows the data protection guidelines, and you will be filling a gatekeeper form, which you already explained. So just answer yes in here. The answer for question number 5 should be not applicable. So it would be NA. And if your question number 6, if your research project involves contract between Anglia Ruskin and any external party, the answer is no. And the answer in here is yes, you confirm that you understood everything. Now, once you fill the form in, go back to the VLE. As I said, there are a set of instructions. The first thing is you will receive an email with the link to the form, which would be the VLE form. The link is here. We've opened it. It takes you to this folder. You click on the Word document, which is a document in here, and you start filling that in based on your research project proposal. Once you completed your research ethics application using your research ethics proposal, then making sure that if you are doing primary research, then you have to fill in what we call participation consent form and participation information form, and in some cases the gatekeeper form. The template for those are available in here. This is the template for participation information sheet, participation consent form, and the gatekeeper letter template. There are some samples in here as well, but the main thing is once you completed the form, please email it to your supervisor. Email it to your supervisor with a link for them to be able to go into this folder and being able to review your form and provide you with feedback. They can also guide you when it comes to filling your participation consent form and participation information form or a gatekeeper form. Once they've done that and provided the feedback, they will come back to you via an email. So look out for the email and make sure that you go to that folder, and if there is any updates needs to be done, make sure you do those updates. Once you have completed, once it's completed, you don't need to do anything. So once you're between you and your supervisor, the emails have been exchanged and the supervisor is happy, you don't need to do anything. The supervisor would then let us know at ethics@london.aru.ac.uk that the form is complete. And that's it. Now you have, so this week, next week, until we've asked the supervisors till 9th of December, which is Friday, to be able to do this with you guys. We might extend this for another week to the 16th of December, based on how quickly this can be done, for the supervisor to submit the form to ethics@london.aru.ac.uk. I hope this has been clear. If you had any further question, obviously myself and Paul are in hand to help. You can always email us, but your first point of call should be your supervisor, who should assist you and help you in filling your form in. As I mentioned before, the form can be filled in using your research project proposal. Thank you once again. Wishing you all a good day, and I hope you enjoyed RME so far, and wishing you all the success for the future. Thank you.